Hello, I am Heidi Harold. I am a public services librarian at Hamilton East Public Library. I'm here with Chef Bhatt, and we are going to talk about his new cookbook, I Am From Here. So I just want to thank you for sharing some of your time with me and the patrons of Hamilton East Public Library today. So the first question, feeding someone is often an expression of love. This is clear in the recipes that are inspired by your friends, colleagues, and family members. Why do you think food has such an emotional impact on people? And two, what dish brings back the most nostalgic memories for you?
That's a lot of questions in one question. But first, just thank you for having me on. And I grew up as a child going to the library. That was one of the requirements for us in our that we got a library membership card and went to the library. So, that very happy I'm doing this. Now back to the question. I think food is one of those, most people gather around food, right? I mean, that's something that brings us together. And so we tend to create a lot of memories and many of them, especially if you have been fortunate enough to have a family that eats well, most of those memories tend to be, a fairly happy memories. And so, that's there's that connection to being together, being part of celebrations or celebrations or occasions where there's a lot of conversation with friends and family, and that's food tends to be a really good medium to facilitate that. As far as what I really, one dish that I like to cook it's a hard one to pick because there are times when I like to cook several different things, and there are times I just want something in one pot and have a piece of bread, and that's about it. So I don't know if I can really answer that question honestly by but what I do enjoy is food that's not very fussy, if that answers you. Yeah.
No, that does. So can you talk a little bit about how you have blended the Indian foods that you grew up with and traditional Southern cooking?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very natural process, right? I mean, when as an immigrant, I mean, it's you bring your food and your flavors with you, right? I mean, that's what you grew up with, and that's what best. And then you come to a new place and you find new flavors and new foods, and you try to look for things that are familiar to make yourself as comfortable as you can in a new place. And in my case, I came to the American South, and I found that there were ingredients that I already knew, so that there was a second layer of comfort that for many people may not exist. Now, what that also meant is, because I knew the ingredients, I immediately sort of, veered towards seasoning them the way I had grown up eating them. So it wasn't a conscious decision that this is what I was going to do, but it is just that my memories of what certain things should taste like dictated how I season them. And
that makes a lot of sense. So in your cookbook, and this probably kind of is a similar question, but in your cookbook, you state making a dish your own is part of the beauty of cooking. I love the way you encourage your readers to experiment with recipes, and you improvise a lot in your own cooking. And I'm sure you do.
So, I mean, the thing is, people are always telling me, oh, I can't cook, or it's like, no, that's not true. I mean, cooking is, everybody can cook, right? I mean, you have to sort of forget about, the end product and remember why we cook. We cook to feed ourselves, right? I mean, that's the very basic thing, right? And so just go with that. And then, that you're trying to feed yourself, and then do the best with it. Have fun with it. I mean, don't get intimidated by food, because we all need it. I mean, we don't scared when we breathe. We don't scared when we drink a glass of water, unless, maybe we live in Jackson, Mississippi. That's another story altogether. But, uh, so it's just, food is just a natural phenomenon. It's something we do as people. And so just relax and have fun. And if there are recipes that you want to follow and you have the ingredients, great. But if you don't have the ingredients, don't let that hold you back from still having fun and making something, right? And improve. I mean, use your own memories, use your own things that you like, flavors that you enjoy. Feel free to use those. A recipe is just a template. It gives you a guideline, but after that, please feel free to color outside the lines or change the picture a little bit. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. And this is a hard question. If you could only use one spice or flavoring in your cooking, what would it be?
Oof. That's very, very, very difficult one. So I guess salt is the obvious one, right? Because that changes a lot of things. There's just a simple pinch of salt. So if there was only one, I would say salt.
Okay. Great. When you talk about the grilled stuffed tomatoes recipe, you mention all the different cultures that claim this dish. And later you talk about a Kashmiri Hindu and a Kashmiri Muslim student who would often eat with your family. And you state a simple recipe has the power to bring us together, and that food is a great way to build bridges and break down barriers. Why do you think food brings people together?
That's it's a hard question, but it's also it's in its very basic form. Food is something we share, right? It's a lot more fun when you share it, and so it inevitably and also it's not just the dish itself. To bring the dish to you requires multiple people, right? Somebody has to grow it, somebody has to bring it to you, somebody has to cook it, somebody has to eat it. So it's a community effort to begin with. Just whether it's just wheat, and then that gets grown and then turned into flour and then to bread, or whether it's milk that whatever it is, right? I mean, it takes a few steps and requires few people to get to that end product. And so you already have this community to start with, and then because we are social beings, we have always enjoyed sitting together and sharing a meal, right? That's what human beings do. Some of us will occasionally eat alone, but when given a choice, we like to eat with other people. So that's an automatic sort of a place to invite somebody in that you normally wouldn't, right? Because you're already sharing, and it's a great place to sort of put some differences aside and just eat. And then also, in the bigger scheme of things, food travels. Food is not stationary. It does not stay in one place, and therefore something that grew in South America has now ended up in Southeast Asia, and it's made a journey. And so now you have that link, so you can use that link of where it's grown versus where it's used to again start a conversation with people who you may think don't have very much in common, but then you realize that they do, right? I mean, you think about, let me just give you an example of just really quickly of Italian food, for example, right? And you can't imagine Italian food now without tomatoes.
Right.
Tomatoes are not Italian. They grow in Italy. They came, from the West.
Yeah.
Right. So all of a sudden, you can use that connection to start a conversation about how we can exchange ideas. Right. Like if we can, because people will say, "Oh, I can't accept things from outside. They're outside." But well, you've taken this ingredient that is from outside and made it your own. So in the same way, you can take that other concept, an idea that you may at first be vary off,
Mhm.
and then think it through and see how you can make it your own. And so that's how I look at food as a conversation starter, because it's an easy way, it's an easy segue into starting a conversation about different cultures and how they impact our lives.
I have one personal question.
Sure.
So my dad lives in Lexington, Kentucky, and there's a truck that comes up from the Gulf that sells the royal red shrimp. So how are these shrimp different than the shrimp that we would buy at a local grocery store here?
Right. So so the royal red shrimp are you have to go further out. You have to go further. They are deep, colder water shrimp, and so you have to go further out to get them than the white or brown shrimp that are caught closer to the shore. And the royal red shrimp have a really unique, very, very, very sweet flavor, and that's that like no other. I mean, it is just there's just this sweetness that's not matched by anything else. And some people say, well, it's kind of lobster like, but in my opinion, royal red shrimp tastes way better than lobster. So it is just it's one of those things that if you can get your hands on, you should.
Right, great. Well, I've kind of gone over my time here, so I want to let you go, but thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm excited to share this interview with the Hamilton East Public Library patrons.
Thank you very much. And on a personal note, I will be in Lexington December 6th and 7th doing a dinner with Rita Michael. So if you want to pass that word along to your Lexington friends, I'll be there and signing my book. So.
Okay, I might try to come because that's my birthday. So maybe I'll go down to Lexington and come. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.